This is the Peruvian Andes, 5,400 meters above sea level. It's difficult to believe, but people live here all year round. The air is so thin that it makes your chest ache. Temperatures never go above freezing and sometimes dip to minus 25 degrees centigrade. The Incas were the first to find this spot. Then, the Spanish took over from them. There's only one reason why anyone would come here, and that's gold. This week's Earth Report comes to you from the top of the world, from the highest rubbish tip on the planet. A track rutted by ice and trucks. It's the only way to get to Rinconada. 3 barriers seal this settlement of 20,000 souls from the rest of the world. The first is the intense cold, a perpetual winter where it's always below zero. Daytime temperatures are minus 15 degrees Celsius, and at night it drops to minus 25. The second barrier is the lack of oxygen. At 5,400 meters, you get only 30% of the oxygen at sea level. The third barrier belongs to the police. The official world stops at this point 2 kilometers from Rinconada. Any semblance of the rule of law ends right here.
As you can see, the climate here is very difficult. It's really cold, and the clothes that are supplied by the police are just not suitable for these temperatures. So one way or another, we have to put up with this climate and do our best to find some warm clothes by ourselves. In August 1999 or 2000, a huge gust of wind blew off the roof of the police station, and ever since, water leaks into all the rooms. We have to put up with these conditions. We really don't have the choice because, unfortunately, we have to obey orders. The administration sends us here, and one way or another, we have to get on with it.
Raising and lowering the barrier constitutes the main work of the police. Besides, what else could 5 policemen do, badly equipped and with no vehicle, faced with the 20,000 inhabitants of Rinconada? There's even evidence of human sacrifice, but no arrests have ever been attempted. Rinconada, the highest shantytown in the world. 20,000 people surviving in a town with no piped water, no sewers, no toilets, and no heating. Over the last 500 years, Rinconada has been a place of broken dreams. The Incas were the first to arrive, then the Spanish. Today, it's a hideout for the truly desperate and for those on the run from the law. The only thing that counts in Rinconada is the dream of finding gold. The whole town is obsessed by the nuggets of gold trapped under the glacier. Here there's no state, no laws, only a set of unspoken rules unique to Rinconada. Under the glacier and in the mountains, the gold is found in thin seams, which makes it very difficult to extract. It can't be done by machines, only by men crawling through the darkness. The profits to be had are as scanty as the seams themselves. The mountain and all its resources belong to the state of Peru, which rents it out to a mining company, the Corporación Minera Ananea. The company subcontracts to some 300 small contractors who, with a limited surface area, are only able to excavate a few mine shafts. The miners are hired according to the cachorreo. It's a verbal contract by which the miners work for free for the contractors for a month. After 30 days of unpaid work, the miners are allowed to work the mine for their own profit for a single day. It's a cruel lottery. If this seems good, the miners can survive the following month, perhaps even save a bit. But if this seems poor, the miners have to borrow or go without some of their food. For 95% of the people living here, the average income is between $40 and $100 a month. Everybody here dreams of one day finding a 500-gram nugget, even a kilo. Everyone talks about it, but it never happens. In the town, the smell is unbearable. There's no water, no toilets, no sewers. Just an open trench in the middle of the main road where the rubbish and excrement is deposited in the open air. The trench can only absorb a tiny proportion of all the rubbish. The majority is dumped between the houses or in the immediate surroundings of the town. The excrement and rubbish from 20,000 people have been piling up day after day around the houses for dozens of years, making the air a noxious cocktail of pollution, a rich source of chest infections, with children the most vulnerable. This is high mountain country, so naturally, snow piles up on the heaps of rubbish and excrement. As the snow melts, it forms polluted streams which run into the lake and river at the outfall of the glacier. In days gone by, the lake was considered a pure water sanctuary. Today, it carries the pollution from Rinconada downstream. The Rinconada mine pollutes the Rio Carabaya, which, after travelling 250 kilometres, flows into Lake Titicaca. 1.2 million people live in the Puno district and are exposed to the contaminated water. The authorities seem to think that small-scale mines only cause pollution locally. In fact, they're time bombs for the ecosystem of the entire country.
Es la población urbana más alta del mundo, en el cual se elabora.
The population of Rinconada is, without a doubt, the urban population living at the highest altitude in the world. I don't think there exists another place anywhere in the world where there is such a large number of people working down a mine and living on a glacier around that mine at 18,000 feet above sea level. Unfortunately, as you can see for yourselves, this population lives in the middle of its own excrement and rubbish. It's incredible, but everything is dumped anywhere at all, out in the open. We're aware of the problems that this causes and have tried to clean up the town. We've also tried to advise the population about the questions of hygiene and waste disposal. But these people, they don't have the financial means to apply even the most basic sanitary measures. It's sad to say, but they don't even have the necessary money to build a dump.
Pero que no hay financiamiento para realizar ese relleno sanitario adecuado, no hay.
Helped by 2 nurses and a midwife, Hernan Ventura is the only doctor in Rinconada. He treats over 1,000 patients a month.
Most of the children under 5 in Rinconada suffer from lung infections and diarrhea. You don't have to look very far to work out the reasons for these illnesses. The altitude, the climate, and the polluted environment these children live in are the causes. But thanks to God, the town is covered with snow nearly all year round, and the cold slows down the spread of epidemics.
Epidemia.
The alpaca is a distant relative of the camel, supremely well adapted to surviving on meager vegetation. Alpaca meat is an indispensable source of protein for those who live in the mountains, and it's generally lean and very healthy. But even the alpaca has been corrupted by gold. They now compete with other scavengers for rotting vegetable matter. The alpaca's meat is probably another source of ill health. At the end of the 1980s, Peru experienced the mother of economic crises. In the 5 years between 1984 to 1989, inflation reached 7 million%. The recovery's been painfully slow. Qualifications are no guarantee of a job. Even Dr. Chambia says that if he left, there'd be 50 young doctors who'd want to take his place. Larger families cannot be supported by subsistence farming. That's the reason why 20,000 people are prepared to endure the squalor of life in Rinconada.
I came to Rinconada in 1998. I used to come here before, when I was younger, during the holidays when I was still at school. I've been here permanently since 1998. Why did I come here? Well, you only have to look at what's happening in our country to understand. There are so many problems. We study, get qualifications, and become good professionals. And then, at the end of the day, there's no work. There's only unemployment. So the only way to find work is to come here, to the mine. Nobody asks anything of you here. You don't have to be a professional to work here. I learnt the job by copying the miners, who have been here for a long time. Here you learn from the others, sharing their knowledge and following their footsteps. Yes, of course the work here is very hard, very tiring. It's a job for strong men. The hard ones, we say here. We all want to make a bit of money. That's why we come to Rinconada. But nobody wants to spend the rest of their life down a mine. God willing, we'll find enough gold and be able to leave and do something else. Open a little shop or find another job, a job less difficult, less tiring.
When the miners can work for themselves and finally earn a bit of money, in accordance with the cachorreo, they have to produce a minimum of 5 to 10 grams of gold in order to survive the following month. Rodolfo Nina's day starts at 6 in the morning with the walk up to the mine. It'll take him an hour. When he gets to the mine, the overseer hands out the coca leaves. Chewing them numbs the body. There will be no mining without it. An offering to the mine itself is made before going down the shaft. A few coca leaves slid under a stone so that the yield is generous. Food or a bottle of alcohol could also be given as offerings. A belief dating back to Inca times claims that leaving a human brain to rot inside the mine causes a chemical reaction which makes gold come to the surface of the rocks. This belief still has its followers in Rinconada, and the last human sacrifice recorded by the police commissioner dates back to March 2003. Dynamite is used to make these tunnels. There's no remote-controlled electronic ignition here. The fuse is lit, and the miners run as fast and as far as possible. Accidents are inevitable.
When there's an accident and we see our friends die in the mine, it's a terribly sad moment. But it's part of a miner's life too. It's a dangerous life, and when we leave our families, we never know whether or not we'll make it back home and see them again. We think about that often.
The ore that's extracted from the seam is crushed to powder. This is the preparation for the next stage, during which the gold is separated from the rock. The gold is separated from the ore using a kimbalete, a big circular stone used like a grindstone.